Hey y'all, it's Krypton Critics. I'm here to review The Wicker Man from 1973. This is different from my previous video because that one I had talked about last time was the remake starring Nicolas Cage. This one I'm talking about now from the 70s was directed by Robin Hardy. It stars Edward Woodward as Sergeant Howie, rest in peace. Christopher Lee as Lord Summersisle, rest in peace. Britt Eklund as Willow McGregor. Diane Salento as Miss Rose, rest in peace, and Lindsay Kemp as Elder McGregor. So Howie comes to this island looking for a supposedly missing little girl. This island is lives a more traditional lifestyle, and our our protagonist finds out that they are pagan. Howie comes from the mainland of Scotland, and he was raised very Christian. Everything in their society, other than probably like maybe housing sometimes and finances, but everything else will directly revolve around the church. And because it had been like that since the pre-Middle Ages, like by a certain point you don't question how everything is. You just accept it. Now, as you may know, I am not a Christian. I am an atheist. Not going to say you're wrong necessarily for having whatever faith. You do you worship what you want, you pray to who you want. As long as you're not hurting anybody, I don't care. But this film, the faith of these pagans on this island leads to endangerment of people. So that's one of the big reasons why our hero Howie is very upset. Like, in many ways, he's just upset about he doesn't like pagan ideals, the non-Christian nature of this island. What's forth? He doesn't like them having orgies and having all these weird festivals. Well, in his opinion, it's weird to them. Just like where he comes from, it's normal, everyday shit. But he's in a new environment. This is the fish out of water experience for him. It doesn't seem like this town has telephones, but they definitely have plumbing and advanced farming, and they have little cake shops. So they're not too far removed from the most areas in UK in the 70s. This town, this island puts a high importance on farming and harvest, especially since the island founder has a direct link to the current leader, Lord Summersisle, Christopher Lee. He came during the mid-Victorian era, and he wanted to grow his own special types of fruits because of how special the land was with volcanic ash and the nice seawater that came in. But problem is, spoiler alert, if shit doesn't get growing, their ideal is just they have to sacrifice somebody, and hoping that the sacrifice will lead to a better harvest next year. Now, it starts off as a mystery because our hero is still trying to find the little girl that's supposedly missing. He goes over to a classroom, much almost like word for word, like in the remake, where he talks to Miss Rose and he passes around a note. He erases what's on the chalkboard. He writes down the girl's name. It's almost beat for beat and same imagery. Whatnot. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with the similarities. In my opinion, it's all about the execution. And in the remake, that's probably one of the best shot and most coherent out of everything, because that remake is fucking balls to the wall, just what the fuck, you know, exposition that doesn't make sense. But this is far more coherent, and that scene is it's just better in pretty much every way. Now, there's not to say that this film doesn't have negatives. I feel it. Now, me personally, there's scenes where it's supposed to be, like a scary film, but I'm not that scared. Like, to me, it's a mystery drama with little hints of thriller. I don't really see this as anywhere near a horror film personally. Maybe for the audience back then it was a little different, or just it works for people more in that aspect. I mean, what I'm drawn to is the subtext information of paganism versus Christianity. I really love with what Christopher Lee said. And Christopher Lee in this movie, this is before Christopher Lee starts sounding like, Saruman and Count Dooku. Is before he got the really deep voice. So his voice is a bit softer, and he's a little more laid back in this role. He just seems like, a man with some power, handsome, really well kept together, has a mildly dark sense of humor. That's what he seems like in the beginning. He has some beautiful, like Beatles hair, bowl cut, and some sideburns, which, that was the thing back in the 70s. Our hero ends up in like a pub slash hotel slash restaurant, and the pub is owned by Alder McGregor. Now, I don't know much about the actor or the character at all, but he kind of has a swish voice. I'm not sure if he is if the character is supposed to be effeminate or homosexual or anything like that. I'm not trying to dismiss anybody for being that. I'm fully in support of the LGBT community, but I'm not sure if that was intentional or not. But he does have a daughter named Willow, Britt Eklund. I don't really know how to characterize her character other than she's a bit goofy, sometimes with facial expressions. She's supposed to be a little bit evil and devious towards the hero, especially towards the end. She kind of has, the reputation in the town as, like, the town slut and all that. I don't know, but she definitely is a bad bitch. I can say that at least. One of my favorite lines has to be now, before our hero Sergeant Howie can go find the death reports of this town, because he wants to find out if this little girl is actually dead. He wants to find out if Rowan is still alive, had been buried, or whatever. That's the mystery of this film. Before he goes to see our main antagonist, he passes by. A lot of these women, I would say about half of them are pregnant, and they're kind of doing like a seance dance around this bonfire. They're kind of doing like yoga. And when he goes to see Christopher Lee's character, Summer's Isle, he says, like, what are they doing? He's like, oh, they're doing, like the ceremony for fertility. They go into the fire naked and whatnot, and I think it was like maybe the sun god, or I'm not sure which god he mentioned, but he said, but will allow them to be able to bear children. He's like, that doesn't make sense, that some god can let a woman be be able to be pregnant. And Christopher Lee just looks back at him. He's like, isn't Jesus Christ fathered by Mary to a ghost? I love that line, especially the way it's said in the film. There's a lot of mass throughout this film. Even our main character gets in disguise, much like the remake, but instead of a bear, he gets dressed up as like a jester Harley Quinn. Which, you would think, Jester Harley Quinn's like a clown, you think that'd be more entertaining. But just something about the bear is so freaking ridiculous. But somehow this isn't it. But yeah, I freaking love my favorite character by far is Sergeant Howie, and I love the performance from the actor Edward Woodward. It's kind of fun to see him just look at everybody like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? I fucking can't. All that's priceless. Kids are made to do weird shit. Everything is, has a cultist angle. He tries to read up at a library and it confuses the old woman that works there, I guess. But yeah, then the movie ends, spoilers once again, with him being burnt and wanting, Jesus to know that, this is it, and I tried to love you in thy name and whatnot, but a man gets burnt to a crisp. So there are a lot of scenes that I do like. There are scenes that the scare doesn't really work for me, but I can still acknowledge that just the framing and how there's great shots, and especially showing nature and the nuances in people's faces and emotions. Just from a filmmaking standpoint, the score, there's a lot of great dialogue, but I was expecting it to wow me just a little bit more. But I will, I'm gonna be fair. I always give movies the benefit of the doubt. So I'm gonna give this movie. I'll give this movie a B minus. I mean, if someone wants to give it an A, I will not argue with them. Definitely not. But just how my personal enjoyment, I give a B minus. It's almost a B. If it had like actually scared me a bit more, or if I got a new angle on the villain that was we really get to understand his character, I would definitely have given it at least a B plus. But it's still really good. It's still fun. There's a lot of weird moments. But I guess that's the point. It's part of the Krypton Critics. I love you.